I'm in the back garden of a lovely house in suburban Wigan where there's actually a couple of cars, mum and dad's cars, that still exist. In there are actually some interesting things in there, but we'll come on to that. The car in question is a car that used to be on the streets of Britain everywhere throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s and even the 90s, and now you seldom see it. It isn't actually this. This Reliant Scimitar we will talk about. This was Dad's midlife crisis car. The other car in question is in the garage around the corner. But it's in here, the main car in today's episode, because in there is a Mini, and not any old Mini, an early Mk1 Mini, and this person is only the second owner. We're hopefully going to get it out of there and maybe get it running for the first time in decades. I'm Jonny Smith. You are, of course, watching a Barnfind episode of The Late Break Show. So, Steve, this is your parents' house where you grew up, right?
That's right.
You and your brother and
two brothers.
Two brothers. So you got. Thank you for getting in contact with the show, because you said got this car. It's been my mum's car for years, since what? Since the 70s?
1980, Dad bought it.
80?
Yeah.
And it's an early Mini. Mm-hmm. What year is it actually?
1960.
60. So the Mini came out in 59. So it's a really lovely early. And that's the car. You can remember that since forever.
Yeah. I remember being a small kid, and he used to sit up the side of the house with. Dad had another one which he used for donor parts, and we used to just play in them.
Really?
Yeah, we used to play in them all the time. And,
that's brilliant. Donor, you can't beat having a donor car down the side of the house. So your dad, real tinkerer.
Yeah.
Bought this for your mum, and this was the car that she went to work in and you went to school in?
Yeah, I think she was going back to work as we started going to school, and she needed a daily drive, so it was sort of, you just didn't go out and buy a car if you could put one back together, I guess. Yeah.
So when did it stop being used?
We think around about the mid 90s, when they both retired at that point, and they went everywhere together, and Dad actually indulged in a brand new car. So there was no going back to the old cars after that, I think.
Oh, really? That was right. We'll look at the Scimitar a bit after we've looked at the car in the barn / garage. Can you show me the Mini? I've only seen one picture of it so far. So is it open?
It's open, yeah.
Hang on. Gosh, isn't that cute? 6941 Pew. I do love a dusty old car, and of course it badged as the Mini Minor.
Yeah.
This car, how long has it lived right here?
Oh, it's lived in the garage, as I say, from about the mid 90s, and it was pushed out once just to move it to one side so we could get better access, and that was around, again, think about 2004, something like that.
So nearly 20 years ago.
Nearly 20 years,
when it was pushed but not fired up.
It's not fired up for 30 years, we don't think.
Right, okay, really? Right. Let's have a quick look round it in situ. I have to say, it smells great in there.
Right.
It's a lovely, it smells like sort of fresh washing.
Yeah.
On a dryer. And I think the warmth of this part, because this is obviously built into the corner of the house, this might have helped to preserve it.
Yeah, hopefully.
So you said your mum got this when she went back to work after having you guys, you and your brothers.
Yeah.
So what did your mum do for a job?
She was a teacher. She used to teach shorthand for secretaries.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I don't know if they still do that. It's probably obsolete.
I don't think they do still do that. My mum could do it.
Right.
What did your dad do for a job?
So Dad's, his main job when he started work was as a locomotive engineer at a place over near Bolton, which was Horwich Locomotive Works. So he used to work on the old steam engines originally.
Really?
And then as they got phased out, he worked on diesel engines.
Wow. Okay. So he was not easily put off by working on cars.
No, not at all. No, this did not faze him at all. His spanners were all too big for this.
I love the fact that you've left it as it is. I'm looking around it. We'll pull all the stuff off in a minute, but it is all there, isn't it?
Hopefully, yeah, it should be. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is all there. It actually weirdly looks like it has a new exhaust on it, or would have been new 30 years ago. And see Mark 1 Mini being, it's got these lovely, the
Yeah.
sliding glass, these old handles, these different handles.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? It's got a vinyl roof, or what looks like a homemade vinyl roof, side stripes.
But they end.
But they do end, because I bet it's had a front wing or
Yeah,
two.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Being the early Minis, you've got these huge exposed hinges, which I think they disappeared with the second gen Minis.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting with the hinges, because the story goes something along the lines that either before the internet, so Dad either couldn't source a new set of hinges, or was too tight to buy them. So he made these. They're brass hinges, and he never painted them, so they'd polish up and be.
They are. I hadn't noticed. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Your mum's no longer with us. Your dad's still around. He's, has mobility issues. Are these cars, the Reliant, are they staying with you? Are you?
The Mini 100% is getting a nut and bolt restoration. We want it as new. Yeah. So we've been discussing with a restoration company who want to see more pictures of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be really cool. The Scimitar we'd also like to do, but possibly something a little bit different with it, and maybe sort of resto mod style. But we're not down the road on that one yet.
Okay.
But it would be cool.
I'm glad you're keeping them.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're keeping them. Right, let's take these bits and bobs off and have a closer look at this thing. There's the fuel tank. So there are mini bits in the boot. Looks like there's some ignition bits, a couple of spare light clusters. In fact, well, that's good.
I'm sure the shed's got loads of spare parts in as well, so
we will have a look.
We could probably build a new Mini.
Well, that could come in handy, couldn't it? Look at the length of the gear stick on a Mark 1 Mini. It's absolutely huge. Look, they're switch extensions. They're a period add-on. Your dad has added some choice stuff here, I can tell. There's a performance, is that a vacuum? Yes, there's a vacuum economy meter with a quartz digital clock and a map light. Brilliant, in this little homemade panel here. There's even wood veneer at the back on the C-pillars. And your dad added a third brake light, Steve.
Yeah, he must have done, yeah.
That's a proper 80s add-on.
Yeah, as I say, seat belts and the brake lights. So there was some sort of thought for safety.
Well, let's get the bonnet up and then we'll have another look round here in a minute. There we go. So it's all there, which is great.
It looks quite good to me.
It does look quite good.
It looks okay.
It does.
This all looks clean around the spark plugs and...
Yeah, it does actually. Is this engine the original engine? Do you know what the deal is with them?
No, so originally it had something like a 850cc.
Yeah.
And at some point we recall that Dad decided the car just wasn't powerful enough, so he sourced from somewhere a 1000cc engine and just swapped it out. So this is, I believe, 1000cc.
Right, okay.
And the 850 original engine is in the shed at the back.
At the bottom of the garden?
At the bottom of the garden, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll have a look. We'll have a look at the condition of that. We'll take the plugs out and we'll see if that lovely hand starter on the floor actually still turns the engine over. While I'm busy pumping, why don't you take a look at our merchandise shop? I'll put a link in the description. Or it might be on the screen if we're clever enough. As you were. It's definitely leg day. Right, so we've pumped up these two tyres. This one's half pumped up anyway, but we can't access it. That one there's totally flat, but I can't access it. But when I was pumping the tyres up, these two blokes would just happen to be driving by. and they recognised me from the YouTube channel, and we said maybe we could do with some extra manpower to shimmy it out from the wall so we could then hopefully get it out onto the drive. I don't even know your names.
I'm Chris.
Chris, Chris and Dan. I'll go this side. That arch seems really good. And Steve, have you got an area to grab?
Yeah.
And I guess after 1, 2, 3, and we'll do it. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, bloody hell, guys, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I can get in there now.
Wow, lifesavers.
Who needs skates? Those little walker things that cost about £5 grand. 2 blokes from Wigan just driving by. That's all it needs. Okay, let's do it.
Oh yes.
Oh, it's free. That's good. See, you're going to get squashed.
I'm going to get squashed.
Do you want to straighten the wheel?
We need some chocks, don't we?
Yeah, I'm sure we've got a few pieces of wood to choose from. About there.
Well done.
Oh, look at it. Right, so we're cracking on with doing some checks on the engine. Everything's there, and it's covered in a thin film of sort of grease, because they were saying, Steve was saying his dad was very trigger happy with wax oiling, greasing stuff, which, having had a look underneath it, I think it's actually not that bad. It's probably had a wing or two in its life, and maybe a patch or two on the backs of the sills, but that's to be expected for a Mini that did everyday duties. Just taking the plugs out. They're pretty sooty. The oil itself, the oil looks really, really nice.
I think this oil has waited for this moment.
Oh, look
Do you
at
reckon?
this, some Duckman's
I haven't
Hyper.
seen that for years.
It's brand new. That's great. I'm going to put a little bit of oil down the bores, down the spark plug holes, clean the plugs up. Once I've taken the fuel pipe off, as usual, try and turn the engine over slowly with some lube, and then we'll know the engine's free, then we know the starter's free, then we'll see if we can get a spark, then we'll put the plugs back in and maybe introduce the can of hope for some fuel. Right, quick recap time. So, oil down the spark plug holes, taken the distributor cap off, cleaned up the cap, the rotor arm, the points. Points look good, they all look in good condition. Taken off the fuel line off the side of the carb, just about to put a bit of water in the radiator just in case. We're going to turn it over, see if the starter motor works, and I've put one plug back in. We'll see if we get a spark. And then if it's free and we have a spark, then we can introduce fuel. If we don't have a spark, we'll look a bit deeper. I actually forgot that I have owned a Mini. I thought I'd never owned a Mini, and then I realised I have owned a Mini. It was one of the very first car pervert videos I did. It's the original engine size badge. But we now know that that has a 950 or 1000cc engine in it. The original engine's apparently at the end of the garden. We'll look at that when we've played with this a bit longer. There's some good bits in here. There's there's latches for the windows. The Mk1 Mini latches, they're rare. So this is back when these things weren't very rare, and there was a donor car. So yeah, there's some good stuff here. Okay, so there's the battery tray. So I can see some rot back here, just there. Look. Maybe a bit of repair back there, there's loads of hammerite. But it's not too bad. Sort of patch in that corner, So yeah, I mean, normally the subframes in Minis are rotten. We can have a closer look later, but yeah, there's been a few patches in it, but it's not hanging. We've connected the battery up. Not quite the right battery, but we can tell there's something going on because the 60s map light is really, really hot and on. So we're going to put the key in and see about turning the engine over. Okay, so the heater works, the blower. Under the magic cover, of course, being an early Mark 1 Mini, floor starter button. So you turn the key one position. Let's see. We have power. Excellent. So I wanted to turn it over just so we knew it was free. And now we can see if we get a spark, and then I can stick the plugs back in. That's the plan. I'm really pleased. We have a spark, and I think we have half decent compression. It's fired out the oil that we put down the spark plug holes nicely. And so it's time to put the plugs back in after a little bit of a clean up. And then we will add the can of hope onto the fuel hose and see if this Mini splutters. When we filled it up with water, just out of curiosity, I wanted to see if it had any water leaks. The water's staying in it. So we tend not to run them for very long if we do get them to run, but it just bodes well. This is actually a lot more solid than I was expecting. So Steve, are you ready to see if it'll fire?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Come on.
So I've plugged in the can of hope.
Yeah.
I'll put on the little fuel pump and I will see if this little dusty Mini is willing to fire. Throttle's nice and free. Choke. No firing so far. Right, so it's not firing, but what I'll do is I'm going to take the air filter off and just have a look.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely poured out.
Did it?
Fuel.
Nice, okay. I've just decided to take the plugs out and check. They've got a bit of oil on them from when I just put some lube down each bore hole. So I'm taking each one out, just giving it a quick clean. And I think I've probably, even that small fuel pump on the can of hope's too much for this little carb. It's only a small engine, remember. So I think what we'll do is I'll just put a little bit of fuel inside down its throat, get Steve to try and turn the engine over, and we'll see if it fires up, because I think it might have been overwhelmed, over-fueled a little. But everything's pointing towards a positive. I'm not going to say it. But it looks like it could fire because it's happy. It's got spark. It's freely turning over. So here's hoping.
You just tell me when, Johnny?
Yeah. So if it's out of gear,
Yeah, out of gear.
choke's on. Give it a little bit of throttle as you turn it on the button.
Ignition on.
Ignition's on, and then the button on the floor.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Starting.
Yeah. Bit of throttle. Yeah. Well, that tried.
Yeah.
That's a good start. Did that splutter when you had any throttle at all?
A little bit of throttle.
Yeah, just a bit. Good. All right. Good. Well, that's progress. Should we try that again?
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to go again?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Starter motor's showing its age now.
Yeah.
Put the choke back in and
Choke
just see
back
if
in.
it behaves any different.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, my darling.
Right, I'm going to go again, yeah? Whoa, oh!
Oh, oh nice
Yeah.
fan belt. Ooh.
That's a start. It's not passing emissions.
Yeah, that was just the fan belt making a horrible slipping. I'm just going to see. Don't touch the starter for a sec if you can, because you'll get my.
I'll turn the ignition off.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the water pump has seized.
Right. Right, ignition on. Here we go.
Right, the water pump is seized.
Is it?
Yeah, because the belt is slipping round, and that's why you can smell burning. Because the fan belt's basically tried to set fire to itself because it's spinning round in the V.
Yeah.
So we can.
Cut it.
I think we can cut it off. Yeah, because we don't need the dynamo to charge.
Yeah.
And we don't need the water pump to work at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether we just abort that and take that straight off. Okay.
Go again. Ignition on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, when you do that next, I'm going to try and put a bit in its mouth.
Right, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like a dream. Look at that.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Amazing.
I'm doing very basic carburation.
Oh.
Very, very basic carburation by trickling it out of an aerosol can.
Yeah.
Trickle. That was
it
about to
sounded
come
good.
down to a half decent idle. It kind of wants to run.
It was running.
And it was running. It was running on, I think, just a trickle of aerosol. I think it's too much to run the fuel pump on it. I don't want to flood it. So, and of course, I haven't dismantled the carburetor. So sometimes the carb is, a bit gummed up, and things aren't working properly. But that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm taking that as a victory.
I'm taking it. So
it sounded so great.
It ran 10 seconds. Okay.
I've never been allowed to sit in the driver's seat before and start it.
Haven't
so that's
you?
a first.
Well, hang on. How old were you when this came off the road?
Probably 18, something like that.
But you were never allowed to drive it?
No.
Okay. Well,
it's only taken 30 years.
Yeah, I was going to say. So if you remember right at the beginning of this video, I started here at the shed at the bottom of the garden. Well, this is where, according to you, Steve, this is where we think the original engine for the Mini is, plus some other trinkets.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd got to come and have a look before we go home. The fact that the shed is still up is brilliant. You reckon this is 50?
I think it's nearly 50 years old. It's been here as long as I can remember. It's amazing.
50?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's some ivy in here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, immediately, there's actually 2 cars in here. Very small cars. Smaller than a Mini. And a lot of damp, I'd say as well.
God knows what state the engine's in.
Oh, bloody hell. Steve, this is brilliant. Is this your racing car?
That was my racing car, yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Look at it. This is a classic in its
And the police car, yeah.
Oh, like a police beach buggy thing. That's ace. And the slightly dodgy horse,
Yeah.
is that yours?
Yeah, nothing gets thrown out.
And there's another horse there. Oh, there's another horse down there. There's multiple rocking horses. You think the engine is at the back.
Yeah, on the shelves, back left.
So just down here, amongst the tricycles, oh gosh, and the other horses, there's 2 mini doors, Mark 1 mini doors.
Yeah, one is probably the original, this light blue.
Yeah.
See, is the original colour of the Mini we've got. So maybe that was actually the original door, I don't know.
Yeah, so because you think your dad might have painted it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the horse, I'm interested in the horsepower. And actually the horsepower, there is an engine there. There's an engine right down there.
Wow.
And there's also a stack of starter motors and dynamos. If you look in there, some bits, don't know if they're for, don't know what they're for. There's loads of mini bits.
Yeah.
Loads.
I think these are the remnants of the donor cars.
Yeah. There's one thing I love more than a barn find, and that's a bonus barn find. Even though it's not actually in any kind of building, the old Reliant Scimitar, which is a car I love.
Yeah.
You say this one's been outside for a little while.
Quite a number of years, yeah, unfortunately. So. Yeah.
And how long has this been off the road?
Again, I would say this has been off the road since maybe 1990-ish.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it okay if we can take the tarp off it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So this was your dad's, you say, maybe midlife crisis?
Yeah,
car.
I think this was Dad's midlife crisis. So he got, I think he got this in the late 70s, early 80s. So I think it's a 75 car. And it was purple originally, not this white.
Purple.
So it was very distinctive, very 70s, very distinctive.
I bloody love a 70s car.
Absolute nightmare because it's a 4-seater and there's 5 of us in the family. And we'd go on holiday towing a caravan with one of us sat in the boot.
You'd go in the boot on holiday?
One of us would go in the boot, yeah.
I feel bad that we're uncovering it when it's just started to rain, but tax disc says 93.
Okay, yeah.
So you're on the right lines. Oh, see, I love.
Yeah, I like the shape.
I love the shooting brake.
Yeah.
Ford V6 3-litre Granada, I would think. Yeah, there's some serious spider action in here.
State.
I like spiders, but there's, oh wow, yeah, the headlining's down. Steve has just said if he was a betting man, he thinks there's oh my gosh, you're so right. The centre console has got, you said what, Shirley Bassey?
Shirley Bassey, Barry White.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Right, what have we got? What have we got? Shirley Bassey, right there. Look, when was the last time you saw that?
Wow.
Bloody ages ago. Burt Bacharach.
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't know what that is, but it's called Nice and Easy. This stuff has to stay in the scimitar. What happens in the scimitar stays in the scimitar. Dion Warwick. Brilliant. But where's Barry? I love the 2-spoke steering wheel. And all those Smith's gauges. It's great.
Yeah, and the overdrive switch.
This was when your dad was in full cool dad mode, wasn't it? Well, albeit briefly, we got the Mini Minor to fire up and run just for a bit. And I think it's good. The best part of this day for me is not just tinkering with the cars and hearing the backstory, but it's knowing that these cars are going to stay with the family. Both the Mini and the Scimitar are going to stay and they're going to be revived. This is going off to a restoration in the next few weeks. And the Reliant is hopefully, they're talking about doing a serious resto mod project, which I think is wonderful. So I hope you've enjoyed this Barn Find episode of the Late Break Show. As usual, if you know of a car that's in a real barn, in a garage, on a drive, in a back garden, and you think it's of interest, please get in touch. Email the show. There's a link in the description. Send us an email with some details. I'd love to hear more. Also, we have merchandise available. I will put a link in the description also, or on the screen somewhere now, where you can buy Late Break Show and Car Pervert merchandise. Cheers.